ایئر ڈیفنس سسٹم کو پاک فضائیہ نے بوجھ اور آدمپور میں نشانہ بنایا۔ اڑی میں فیلڈ سپلائی ڈیپو اور پونچھ میں ریڈار اسٹیشن جیسے لاجسٹک اور سپورٹ مراکز کو بھی نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ کے جی ٹاپ اور نوشہرہ میں موجود 10 بریگیڈ اور 80 بریگیڈ کی کمانڈ تنصیبات کو بھی تباہ کیا گیا۔ یہ وہ تنصیبات ہیں جہاں سے بلا اشتعال فائرنگ کر کے معصوم بچوں اور عورتوں کو نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ راجوڑی اور نوشہرہ میں موجود ملٹری انٹیلیجنس کی یونٹیں اور ان کے فیلڈ عناصر جو پاکستان میں دہشت گردی میں ملوث پراکسیز کو سپورٹ دیتے تھے، ان کو بھی ختم کیا گیا۔ لائن آف کنٹرول کے پار وہ تمام آرٹلری، لاجسٹک اور پوسٹیں جو آزاد جموں اینڈ کشمیر میں سویلینز پر فائرنگ کرتی تھیں، ان پر شدید اور مسلسل جوابی کارروائی کی گئی، یہاں تک کہ انہوں نے سفید جھنڈے اٹھا لیے۔ بھارت نے ڈرونز کے ذریعے پاکستانی فضا کی خلاف ورزی کی تاکہ عوام میں خوف پھیلایا جا سکے اور ان کو ہراساں کیا جا سکے۔ اس کے رد عمل میں آپریشن بنیان-ul-Marsus کے دوران پاکستان کی مسلح ڈرونز بھارت کے میں کوئی فائدہ نہیں۔ پاکستانی افواج نے بھرپور سائبر حملے بھی کیے، جن کے نتیجے میں ان بھارتی اہم مواصلاتی اور انفراسٹرکچر نظام کو مفلوج کیا گیا جو کہ بھارتی افواج کے استعمال کر رہی تھی۔ یہ یاد رہے کہ پاکستانی افواج کے پاس ایسی کئی جدید جنگی صلاحیتیں موجود ہیں جن کا کچھ کا استعمال اس تنازع میں محدود سطح پر کیا گیا، اور کئی صلاحیتیں آئندہ کے لیے محفوظ رکھی گئی ہیں۔ ان سب اقدامات کے باوجود میں واضح کرنا چاہتا ہوں کہ بھارت کی مسلسل اشتعال انگیزی کے مقابلے میں پاکستان کا رد عمل نہایت درست، متوازن اور محدود نوعیت کا رہا۔ ہر ہدف جو ہمارے معصوم شہریوں کے قتل یا پاکستان میں دہشت گردی میں براہ راست ملوث تھا، ان کو احتیاط سے نہ صرف منتخب کیا گیا بلکہ انشور کیا گیا کہ عام شہری متاثر نہ ہوں۔ ہم یہ بھی واضح کرنا چاہتے ہیں کہ جب مشرقی سرحد پر افواج پاکستان دفاع میں مصروف تھیں تو خیبر پختونخوا اور بلوچستان میں بھارتی سرپرستی میں دہشت گردی میں غیر معمولی اضافہ ہوا، جو اس بات کا دوبارہ ایک ناقابل تردید ثبوت ہے کہ بھارت پاکستان میں دہشت گردی کو اپنی پراکسیز کے ذریعے فروغ دے رہا ہے۔ تاہم افواج پاکستان نے مغربی محاذ پر بھی انسداد دہشت گردی آپریشنز کو بغیر کسی وقفے کے کامیابی سے جاری رکھا۔ خواتین و حضرات، آپریشن بنیان-ul-Marsus ایک ایسی شاندار مثال ہے جہاں قوم کی تمام طاقتیں متحد ہوئیں اور متحد ہو کر مادر وطن کے تحفظ کے لیے کھڑی ہو گئیں۔ کسی کو بھی کوئی شک نہیں ہونا چاہیے کہ جب کبھی ہماری خود مختاری یا سرحدوں کی خلاف ورزی کی گئی، ہمارا رد عمل جامع، جوابی اور فیصلہ کن ہوگا۔ افواج پاکستان پاکستانی قوم کو اس کے حوصلے، عزم اور حب الوطنی پر سلام پیش کرتی ہے۔ اور آخر میں سورہ انفال کی ان آیات پر ختم کرنا چاہوں گا، وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ۔ وہ تو اپنی تدبیریں کر رہے تھے اور اللہ اپنی تدبیر کر رہا تھا، اور وہ سب سے مستحکم تدبیر کرنے والا ہے۔ پاکستان زندہ باد، افواج پاکستان پائندہ باد۔ اب میں آپ کو اس آپریشن کی مزید جزیات سے آگاہ کرنے کے لیے آپ کی توجہ اسکرین کی جانب مقبول کرانا چاہوں گا۔
And the translation reads, how many times it happened that a smaller force vanquished a bigger force by the will of Allah. History has proven that the complete nation and its armed forces have always stood together with all their might against any act of aggression. Alhamdulillah, we have the will, capacity and capability to protect our sovereignty and territorial integrity. And we are all well aware of the ways and means to do it. Our forefathers, they have sacrificed immensely, and we have sacrificed a lot for the creation of this country. And we know how to defend it. If this great Pakistani nation and the Pakistani armed forces, if 1.3 million Indian army with all their wherewithal, if they cannot intimidate us and they cannot coerce us, these terrorists can subdue the armed forces of Pakistan.
हम सिर्फ ये कहना चाहते हैं कि ना हम तुम्हारी ताकत, ना तुम्हारी मकारी और तुम्हारी जारियत से मरूब होने वाली कौम है. Now you just wait for our response.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today on 10th May at the time of Fajr, we have given a strong punch to our enemy. Alhamdulillah.
Today is 10th May 2025 and this is a smashing response to a coward enemy and it will inshallah continue.
You go to the next slide. If you remember, the armed forces of Pakistan promised you three things. We told you that we will give a befitting response to Indian aggression. We told you and we told the nation that, however, this response will be at the time, place, and method of our own choosing. And we also told the nation that when we will hit the Indians, the entire world will come to know. And we also told that you will not require the Indian media to report to you the phantom strikes that they said that Pakistan is taking place. Didn't we tell you all these three things? We told you. And we also told you that as these armed forces say, we ardently love to embrace Shahadat far more than you fear death. So, gentlemen, this is how it culminated. Now I will show you another clip which will tell you the story.
Pakistan says the country has launched a retaliatory military operation against India. Operation Bunyan-ul-Marsus, which translates to a firm wall of lead, is targeting military facilities in India.
We have seen this pattern of strikes in the morning, then retaliatory strikes at night. It is hard to imagine from this moment where I stand that New Delhi won't want to respond.
Pakistan's army said an eye for an eye. It explained that the counter-offensive is ongoing and that it's targeting air bases in India from which missiles had been launched.
Just after morning fresh, there were series of loud explosions were heard across Jammu and Kashmir, including Uri, Nawaiwaqt, Jammu, Udhampur, as well as the major cities of Srinagar and Jammu.
Pakistan decided to launch a massive retaliation that included fixed-wing aircraft as well as drones and also cyber attacks.
They hit 8 air bases inside of India and Indian-controlled Kashmir. Important distinction, these are India proper as well as in Indian-controlled Kashmir. And those air bases, one of them they say that they've hit a sophisticated air defense system, and another one that they say that they've taken out a missile storage tank.
Pakistan's military says the strikes are in retaliation for what it calls Indian aggression. Islamabad claims it has hit multiple military targets near the line of control.
Pakistan responded with a relentless, a massive barrage of missiles and rockets, they say, Pakistan says, into Indian military facilities, bases inside India, air bases, weapons storage, and along that disputed line of control in Kashmir against military bases there. They say that this, from the Pakistan perspective, their communications, how they were communicating with Secretary Rubio, that really put India on the back foot. It didn't know what had happened. India, according to Pakistan, reached out to Secretary Rubio, reached out to the Saudis, reached out to the Turks, reached out to others to find a diplomatic off-ramp, got engaged after that onslaught in diplomacy, but telling the mediators that they were going to go on a pause on the Indian side.
घबराहट एक तो लोगों की नजर आ रही है क्योंकि तमाम एयरबेस ध्वस्त होते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं, आग के गोले में बदले हुए नजर आ रहे हैं। सबसे ज्यादा जो चर्चा है वो ये कि जब आप अपने एयरबेस को नहीं बचा सकते तो जनता को क्या बचाएंगे।
बड़ी खबर निकल के सामने आ रही है, पठानकोट एयरबेस ते हमला होया है। जी हां दादी के पठानकोट एयरबेस ते हमला होया, दूसरे पासे जम्मू एयरबेस ते हमला होया।
ये पाकिस्तान की साइड से है, देखिएगा। अब हमें आवाज़ से ही पता लग जाता है, जो सीटी बजाता हुआ तेजी से आता है और हमारे करीब जोरदार आवाज़ के साथ फटता है, वो पाकिस्तान की तरफ से फेंका गया, पुंछ पर फेंका गया।
देखिए उन्होंने जो किया है पठानकोट, पठान हमारा आगे जिसको हम कहें एडवांस एयरबेस है, बहुत है। उन्होंने उधमपुर में किया है, ये किया है श्रीनगर के पास में किया है, बंतीपुर में।
सिरसा को आपने बताया एयरबेस है वहां पर, उसको उसने टारगेट किया है और तो वो ड्रोन्स के साथ साथ अपनी बड़ी मिसाइल भी दाग रहा था।
पूरी तरह से धमाकों की जो आवाजें हैं वो राजौरी, पुंछ के साथ साथ जम्मू के अलग अलग इलाकों में यहाँ पर सुनाई दे रही हैं।
पाकिस्तान बिल्कुल आखिर में ये इस्तेमाल करेगा और पाकिस्तान को शुरू में ही इस्तेमाल कर रहा है। और भी बहुत सारे मिसाइलों का जखीरा है और इससे भी ज्यादा कारगर मिसाइल है।
The attacks that have been coming in from the Pakistani forces, we saw how they lit up the entire border area all the way from the north in Kupwara, in Uri, where the ceasefire violations were taking place. Then we saw the drone strikes which were taking place in the Jammu area, all the way down to Bhuj. There were several attacks coming in from the Pakistan side, several drone strikes which were coming in from the Pakistan side.
So again remember and see that didn't the whole world hear and report? Because that's what we promised. Your armed forces promised and delivered that. Now I would like to draw your attention to the next clip, that how the Indian Ministry of Defense itself reported this.
Carrying out aggressive actions employing multiple threat vectors all along the western border. Pakistan employed UCAV, drones, long-range weapons, loitering munitions and fighter aircrafts to target military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to air intrusions using drones and firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Air intrusion and several harassment attacks were also attempted from Srinagar till Nalia at more than 26 locations. Damage was sustained to equipment and personnel at Indian Air Force stations at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adhampur and Bhuj. There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed with heavy damages to other military stations in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Akhnur sectors continued. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military.
भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे.
So did you find even there from the Indian statements that did Pakistan attack anything other than military targets? No. Did any international media, even Indian media, what are they reporting? Precise targeting of the military installations, posts. We told you that we don't target civilians. Our religion does not allow us. Our culture does not allow us. Our professionalism of these armed forces doesn't allow us. That we will never target civilians. So they are even acknowledging that. And they are also saying that once they received the message, once they got the message, then who asked for non-escalation? Who requested that they want non-escalation, that the things should go down? So it's for all to see. So now I will request first Vice Admiral Rab Nawaz to give you a short brief on the naval operations that were part of the Operation Bunyan-ul-Marsus, followed by Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb on the air operations. And after that, we will take your questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll very briefly talk about the role of Pakistan Navy in the defense of Pakistan during this particular crisis. And by the grace of Almighty Allah and with Almighty's help, we were able to defend Pakistan's sea frontiers and deter an enemy which is numerically superior. We kept the enemy at bay, and I'll just briefly talk about how we executed our operations. So essentially, protection of Pakistan's maritime interests and seaboard defense, that is the task of the Navy. And Alhamdulillah, with the help of Almighty Allah, we were able to do that. On any given day of the year, we maintain perpetual readiness. And what that means is that our ships and submarines, they are stocked up, all the military logistics are stocked up. And for us, the transition from peace to war is not only swift, it's almost invisible. And when this false flag thing happened in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we immediately mobilized and we completed the operational deployments of Pakistani Navy fleet units and also the coastal command units in a matter of hours. Our submarines, our ships and aircraft, they were at, in their respective areas where they were supposed to be, and we were ready to thwart any aggression from the sea. And go on to the next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime domain awareness, that is essentially to know what is happening in your area of interest. That is critical for the naval operations. And I'll just briefly talk about that, because to generate any response, you need to be aware of the happening in your area of responsibility. And we were maintaining 24/7 vigil at sea. And okay. A couple of days back, there was a hype. You heard about INS Vikrant approaching Karachi. And I'll just briefly tell you that we were keeping a very close eye on the activities at sea. And this is essentially the Indian Navy surface disposition throughout these days. They had a couple of ships in this particular area. They were moving around in this area. Another ship off Salalah. which was operating over there. And this is the much talked about the Indian carrier. We were monitoring it right from the day one. On 30th of April, it was here, then it moved up here. Subsequently, it moved up here. And on the night of 6th and 7th May, it was back, close to Ratnagiri, very close to Mumbai. And then on 9th May, it was here, essentially 400 nautical miles away from Pakistani coast. And again, then it retreated back close to Mumbai. So we were keeping a very close track on this particular carrier movement. And there was no cause of concern at any time. If the carrier comes closer to 400 nautical miles and even closer, that essentially simplifies our problem. So we were, the Pakistan Navy Maritime Air Arm, in coordination with the strike component of Pakistan Air Force, they were cockpit ready to generate any kind of response at that time, at all times. And I was in constant communication with the Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb, at all times, and we were just ready. If there is any aggression from the sea, we were there to respond effectively. And let me say another thing. That is, you know about the carriers, you have seen them in the movies, but as a professional military officer, I don't want to underestimate the enemy, but let's put the things in the right perspective. The INS Vikrant and the carrier, the Western carrier, there's a huge difference. This is an aircraft carrier which essentially sailed with 8 to 12 MiG-29s, which was barely essential to carry out its own air defense. The purpose of the carrier is power projection and to ensure air superiority in a given sea area. So with this, less said the better. This is simply not possible, and the Indian Navy exactly knew this, and that is precisely why on the 9th of 6th and 7th, when they carried out this cowardly attack on the civilians, they moved this carrier to the safety of their own coast, well away from Pakistan's strike capability, close to this Ratnagiri area. And again, on the night of 9th and 10th, it was moved very close to the Mumbai. It was essentially 17 to 20 nautical miles off Mumbai. But we were keeping a track. We were fully aware of their movements in this area, and we were always ready to generate a response in coordination with the Air Force, especially in case of the aircraft carrier. Subsurface elements, the offensive element, they were offensively deployed. They were in their respective areas and ready to generate a response. And also, you might have seen this footage. We were not only in the surface domain, but we were essentially effectively monitoring their air surveillance things. And because of the operational security reason, I'll not talk much about how we did that, but we were keeping an eye on this particular activity as well. And likewise, in the subsurface domain, our anti-submarine warfare vigilance was all-time high. We were monitoring the movement of their submarines when they left their shores, and we exactly, had an idea where they would be, and we had our ASW surveillance and suppression effectively going on at all times. Likewise, another component of Pakistan Navy's responsibility is the defense of the Creek area. We had our coastal command units deployed over there in close coordination with Headquarter 5 Corps elements, Pakistan Army elements, and they were poised to defend this particular area in case of any aggression from the south. Another important component is the protection of ports and harbors. You have just heard the DG ISPR talked about the subconventional threat that we witnessed. There was a surge in other part of the country, and we were, there were real-time apprehension that there may be a surge. So we ensured the protection of all ports and harbors of Pakistan, and coastal command elements, they effectively played a very, very important role in this. And just to mention that on the night of 6 and 7, when they carried out the attack on Pakistan, we were fully ready to respond to any aggression from the sea. We were just ready, and but the enemy chose not to come over. It was essentially not a matter of choice. I would say it was a matter of compulsion, because enemy fully understood the cost it would have incurred had it ventured from the sea. And likewise, वापस जाइएगा, go back please, go back. And a few words about the missile threat that you have talked about. You must have heard the enemy missile attack. We were keeping a very close eye on enemy deployment in this area, from where they can potentially launch a missile threat towards Karachi. We were fully aware, and we had our response ready to in that eventuality. And go on to the next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, all operations, whatever we do in the military domain, they are to create certain effects. We look for the effects, and the effect that we created, we were able to resolutely, with our posture, we were able to deter the Indian Navy despite its numerical superiority. Number of times have more assets and more forces, and with an annual budget of like $13 billion. So Pakistan Navy, with its potential, with its posture, with its capability, was effectively able to deter the Indian Navy from doing any venture from the sea, alhamdulillah. And that is very, very important. That is essentially the job of the Navy, to ensure that the free flow of trade continues. That's the backbone of the economy. Our 95% of trade is through the sea. Alhamdulillah, we were able to ensure that the shipping continues, the free flow of trade was ensured, and we were able, all our ports and harbors, they remained open. And you can Google yourself. So what was the case on the other side? You can Google about Kandla and Mundra, and there were some disruptions, but that you can check for yourself. But alhamdulillah, we were able to effectively ensure this. Next. We had a wonderful inter-services synergy, very effective communication, and like I said, I was in constant touch with the DGMO and the Deputy Chief of Air Staff Operations. At all times, we fully coordinated our operations, and alhamdulillah, and I think that's really successful for execution of maritime operations. Aage chale. Alhamdulillah, we came up to the national expectations. We ensured defense of Pakistan's maritime frontiers, and we were able to deter the enemy from any adventurism from the sea. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that we remain ever ready to thwart any aggression from the sea at all times. So we will keep our guard. We always keep our guard, and inshallah we will keep our guard in days to come. And last but not the least, I'll end my presentation that the next time when you think of Pakistan Navy and the silent guy, please remember that with the help of Almighty Allah, our actions will always speak louder than words. Thank you very much, and I request AVM Aurangzeb.
So the Indians didn't choose to come on the sea. Now you understand why.
On behalf of Pakistan Air Force, Chief of the Air Staff, Pakistan Air Force, I stand here with you all with deep-rooted humility and gratitude. I am so thankful for Allah helped us in achieving whatever we desired, even whatever we deserved, more than what we deserved. For being able to be up to the task for PF, as they say, second to none. Ladies and gentlemen, as the DG SPR mentioned, I am Deputy Chief of Air Staff Operations. I'll pick up from where I left day before yesterday. PF versus IF, 6-0. The PF's response has strengthened Pakistan's national security, alhamdulillah. And it has even strengthened our commitment, the enduring commitment the PF has for stability and peace. But I have no doubt, and I can say with assurances, that the real genius and the mastermind, the cerebrum behind the design and the aim and the structure, the game plan of PF was the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmed Sidhu. He asked us to do 3 things in our response: re-establish deterrence, neutralize key threats, retain control of air. And I will show you in my presentation how we try to do that. Slide. During the befitting response that we generated in our first episode, we attrited the IF's pride, the Rafales, resulting in this entire fleet almost coming to a standstill in a ground position. You could see that they were not flying after that, at least not close to their western border. This reduction in flying to